Hi everyone, this is Lily,
This is Vidia,
and welcome to Girls
Grace,
and Giggles. All right, so this is our first ever episode of the podcast.
Yay!
So hooray, we did it! We'll just pack up our bags now. But we felt it appropriate to talk about some of our firsts, given that it is our first episode. So we thought it best to kind of do it in more of a chronological way, as best as we can.
Mm-hmm.
And so we listed out a few things. Should we talk through the list, or should we just
Let's just do it one by one.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. All right, you go first.
All right. We were thinking of doing, telling a story about our first time on a plane since we came here on planes.
Yeah, exactly. So for myself, the first time I was ever on a plane was when I was 3 years old, and when my family decided to immigrate to Canada. And so it was a core memory, you could say, because I was actually so excited to get on a plane. And the idea of being on a plane was so fascinating to me that I was able to basically get up on time, which is, if you know me, a very big deal. Because
one of those few times.
Yeah, one of the few times. My mother was so impressed. She was like, so I remember the night before she would say, okay, we're going to go on a plane and fly to Beijing to meet with your dad. And then we're going to fly out to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never been on a plane before. I barely knew what a plane was, but I just was so excited because I was like, oh my goodness, we're going to go on a big trip. And so that excitement just bubbled up and I could barely sleep. And then the next day, I literally woke up before the sun woke up. I was so eager. And I was like pushing my mom awake and waking her up, and she was so impressed because she was like, wow, like you must be really excited to go on this trip. And I really was. And so we flew. I barely remember anything about the flight. I think it was just
the anticipation.
Just the anticipation is what I remember more than anything. And then we flew to Beijing to meet up with my dad. And then I think we stayed one night at this hotel, and it was kind of like a communal hotel where they like a communal hotel, like they had like a communal bathroom where they had like all the sinks in one row, and then like the shower and bathrooms like separate for men and women, but the sinks were like shared all together. And my mom wears glasses, and she put her glasses on the ledge of the sink and was washing her face. And then, no, I think she wore contacts that day and she forgot them. And then I remembered them, and then I just didn't tell her that she forgot them.
What?
I don't know why. I think I was just like so overwhelmed by being in Beijing, or I don't even know what it was. And so later on, when she was like searching for her glasses, I'm like, oh yeah, you left them on the sink in the hotel.
And you knew this whole time?
I knew. My mom was like, why did you not say anything? And I was like, I don't know. I was just so excited.
So overwhelmed with the excitement.
Yeah. And so that was my first time on a plane. I mean, I don't remember anything about the plane. I just remember the lead up to the plane. But yeah, that was me.
Wow,
what about you,
that's true what they say. Anticipation is half the fun.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But you were 3 and you remember like so much.
It's a core memory.
Yeah.
It was a core memory.
Did you know it was like a trip, like a vacation, or that you were actually moving?
I think
that didn't matter.
Not sure. All I remember was I was gonna be on a plane. That was it. I think I was just more thrilled than anything.
But it doesn't do it anymore these days. Like you're going on a plane.
The allure is definitely lost on me now. But it's still nice to fly out somewhere.
Yeah.
I still do love traveling, of course. But yeah, just that first time of being on a plane, or that anticipation, that has since waned.
Yeah.
I'm no longer as thrilled, and it's difficult still for me to wake up to get on a flight. But I still make it. I'm just not as thrilled, let's say, to wake up early. Yeah.
Well, as for me, I actually do remember my first time on the plane. Like,
okay, yeah, the actual plane
yes.
itself. Okay, good.
So it was when I was going to Taiwan for university. But
Mm.
sorry, I just remember. So I think the very first time would be when I was a baby and my parents were taking
Okay,
me
well, you
to my
clearly don't
yeah,
remember that.
exactly. So we don't talk about that. But
Yeah,
the time when I took my first flight to Taiwan,
right.
I was bawling my eyes out because it was
Aw.
so sad because that was my first time like living away and going to school.
Yeah,
So I was just with a lot of emotions, lots of
yeah.
tears, and I was with my high school friend, going together to the same school. So at least I wasn't alone. But I remember it was just so sad, not
Aw.
because of the like
No,
plane
I
ride.
understand.
Yeah,
It's just that bittersweet kind of separation and
exactly.
like growing up and moving away and
Yeah,
all that. Oh,
and I remember I was taking China Airlines.
okay.
The food was really good,
That's
but
what you
yeah,
remember?
I remember
Oh
that
my
because I'm like,
gosh, you're such a foodie.
I'm like,
Like,
oh, this is like really good food. But I was just like crying while eating. Again, it was a
you're
core
still
memory.
eating.
I'm like, this is so good, but I'm also so sad. Um, yeah, that was my experience. First time on the
Okay.
plane.
Wait, so you hadn't been on a plane like in Indonesia before that?
No, no, we didn't travel as much. We
Right,
still
okay.
don't as a family. So that was
Right.
my first time being on a plane.
Wow. First time on a
First
plane
was
and
the
you're
first time on the
doing such a
plane.
big thing.
Yeah, it's like move
Wow.
away, like leave your country.
Yeah. Well, same, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
With me
same for
too.
you.
That was wow. How about that?
Yeah,
That's
so
crazy. So then what was your first day of school like then? Like when
um
you got to Taiwan?
yeah, I think I don't have like a super clear memory of that, but I remember being very fascinated by all the different cultures,
Mm.
new cultures that were around me because
Yeah.
there were a lot of students not from Taiwan.
Right.
So I was like, ooh, wow, all these.
Multicultural
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. So
Did you feel homesick like when you were there?
um I'm sure I was, but I think it wasn't too bad because I
Because the
was
food was good.
no no. I mean, it was a time when I got to make like new friends. Like
Yeah.
everything was new, so a lot of like novelty.
Mm.
Yeah, a lot of new experiences. But
Yeah, I can definitely relate.
yeah,
Like, I think first day of school for me, I mean, talking about like grade one, okay, like first day of elementary school. We can also talk about first day of uni as well, but I think first day of elementary school, I was so nervous. So this is after the plane, after I
nervous
landed.
as in like excited or nervous
No,
as in a
like
little
scared.
scared. Okay.
Scared because I didn't speak the language and I didn't know anybody and this was a brand new place. And like the whole summer I was very happy and like to be with my parents and explore like you said, like the novelty part.
Hmm.
But then when it came to actually going to school, I think I was really nervous because I was like, oh no, like I don't know anything. And like, what if no one plays with me? What if I don't have friends? What if like I don't understand anything the teacher's gonna say? Like, what if the teacher doesn't like me? I just had all
Mm,
these like nerves and
yeah.
I literally was like hiding under my covers and not wanting to go to
Wow, what a
school.
what a stark difference.
Yeah, I was from me now.
Yeah.
I'm still nervous.
No, no, no. I mean, like when you were going on a plane, you were like up
Oh
even
yeah,
before
yeah,
the
yeah.
sun was
Yeah,
out.
exactly. And this one was just like filled me with dread.
Anxiety.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so basically my parents had to like come and like
Drag you out of your
yeah,
bed.
like drag me out of my bed, like uncover me from the covers and say like, what's wrong and like what's going on? Like you were so excited to go to school, like why the stark change? And so I was like, I don't know anybody. I'm not gonna have friends. And I just had this whole thing of like, again, the anticipation perhaps
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
is what is like built up in my head. And then so they're like, no, it's fine. Like nobody knows anyone. It's the first day of school and this and that. So eventually I went. And of course, I didn't know anyone and I didn't speak the language. So I didn't understand anything the teacher was saying. And so I remember we were all sitting in a circle and I had these Velcro shoes, like the shoes with the
Yeah.
two Velcros. And I was like, and I remember they were white and purple. And we were all sitting in a circle, and I didn't know what the teacher was saying because I couldn't speak English. And so I was just like playing with the Velcro of my shoes. And like the teacher was like, she literally got up from her little bench and like came over and like put her hands on my hands
Stop
to be
it.
like, stop. Like, and I was like, okay. Like, because I didn't understand what, I think she might have said something to me, like to, like
In
to
English.
not play with
Yeah.
my Velcro shoes, but obviously I didn't understand. And so she like had to get up and like put her hand on my shoe to be like, stop.
Oh.
And so I was like, oh, okay. But then the first day was pretty uneventful. Like, I think we just like, colored or whatever. It's like grade one. So what do you expect? And then I think afterwards it was okay. And then afterwards, like my mom was like, oh, how was your first day? And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, not too much of a, I don't really remember anything else. I do remember the Velcro shoes.
Yeah, that's
because I think I felt really embarrassed because everyone started looking at me, and then like because the teacher had to come like,
but she did it
directly
nicely, right?
yeah,
Not
yeah,
like
she
me.
did it like, well, I mean, yeah, it was fine. But I was just like, I remember feeling really self-conscious because I didn't understand, and like everyone else seemed to understand what was going on. And then but then I had like ESL classes, and then I was fine.
You had a lot of self-awareness as a 3-year-old, and like
Yeah,
the minute details that you remember is impressive.
yeah, I think I was a very precocious kid, so that's probably
Yeah.
where it was. But yeah, that's what I remember of first day of school.
Was that during the time when you had your first crush?
Yeah, it was actually. So like after I got over myself, like started liking to go to school, like there was this new concept of recess that I never knew, like, oh, we had to like go out and play and whatever. And then I think my teacher had told my mom that you have to pack your child snacks for recess, or something like that. Like you have to have snacks for recess. And I think she just said it casually, but my mom was like, oh, this is an assignment, like I need to bring snacks for my child. And so she like went to buy like it was like some like cracker snacks or whatever, like some little pouch of snacks. And I didn't really like them, but I mean they were fine. It wasn't like, it was kind of crunchy little like pocket snacks. And but there was this boy in my class who I thought was so pretty. Well, he wasn't like really pretty. He was tall, and he was like really sporty, and he had a bunch of friends around him, and he seemed to like be the leader person, and he had a nice smile, and he was kind of nice to me. And then so I remembered him, and like I don't know why it was one day, like I gave him one of my snacks.
Aww.
Yeah, and then he was like, whoa, this tastes so good. And then I was so happy. I was like, oh, you like them? Then you can have it. You can have it all. Yeah. And then he was like, really? I'm like, yeah, no worries. You can have it.
Oh, okay.
And so I gave the little pouch of snacks to him, and he was so happy about it. And he was like, oh, thank you so much. And this and that. And he's like, are you sure you don't want some? I'm like, no, you can have it. Because I was just like so happy he was talking to me. And then afterward, like every day for like a week or something, I would give him like little my pouch of snacks.
Wow, okay.
And then he'd be like, thanks. And then he would like share it with his friends, and his friends also thought it was really good. So then everyone was like, oh wow, Lily has the best snacks.
Yeah. Oh wow, but you would give it to him like day by day after that. That's courageous.
Is it?
But I guess as a kid, it didn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think it really mattered. And then I just thought that he was like really nice. Like he was nice to me, I guess. And so
was he in the same class?
Yeah, he was in the same class.
Okay.
But I think it was like a mixed grade 1, grade 2 class. So I think he was grade 2.
Okay. A senior boy.
Yeah. And then yeah, I think that was it. And then I think I gave him snacks for like a while. And then later on,
did you actually have the snacks for yourself as well, or everything was just for him?
It was just like a little pouch of snacks. Like I think I think I just gave it to him afterward.
Wow,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Like for you, food is a big deal. It's like, wow, this is your love language.
Yeah.
No, I think I was just like, oh, I don't really I mean, I could eat them or I could not eat them. Like, it's not a big deal to me.
Yeah.
But it seems like he really liked the snack,
And
so
all
he
this
can have
time,
it.
your mom thought, "Oh, my daughter has been eating the crackers."
Yeah. Yeah, and I think eventually my mom realized, like, oh, you don't have to give snacks at recess. Like, it's not a mandatory
And
assignment.
she stopped preparing it
And
for
then I
you.
think she just stopped. She's like, we can't afford this. Like, and then just stopped giving me snacks. And then eventually, yeah, that boy just like faded out of my life. But you know, the grand twist of all of this is that I became really good friends with his sister.
Oh, okay.
Not because to get close to him, just like by sheer coincidence, I like ended up being really good friends with his sister.
I see.
Yeah.
But I think it's so interesting how you were courageous in
Huh?
whatever you did
How
to
was
your
this
crush, because I was
courageous?
not. To my first crush in
Really?
elementary, I
I
was
don't
like
think it
very
was
shy.
courageous. I was just like I think he was like, "Oh, this tastes really good." I'm like, "Okay, you can have it." Like,
Yeah, but then you proceeded to keep giving it to him like every
uh-huh.
day after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I wasn't like that with my first crush. I
Okay,
was like
do
very
tell, do tell.
shy. I think it was in like grade 1 or 2 as well.
Mm.
There was this boy who was cute,
Mm-hmm,
kind of
mm-hmm.
cool, and I think he was smart as well. Um, yeah, I mean, we didn't have like a lot of conversations, but I just thought, okay, he's like,
Was he in your class?
he was in my class.
Ooh,
And
okay.
in Indonesia, when we were young, we had this book. We call it a diary. So
Mm-hmm.
we would distribute our diary to our friends, and then our friends
Oh.
would just write their name, address, hobbies, just fun facts about themselves, and then put
Oh.
their photo and like cute little stickers.
Wow.
And then I don't know, they would say,
That sounds so sweet.
yeah, that is very sweet. And then they would like share some sentences from the letters of my first name. So for example, like
Oh.
Vidia, it would be like Vidia is her name.
What?
I Independence is her signature or whatever. And then you just follow the
Oh.
letters.
Oh, that's so cute.
So yeah, we
What
did.
if someone has a super long name? Then it'd be like
Yeah.
listing out all of the
But yeah, you just do
attributes.
the first name.
Okay.
Anyways, so I had that diary, and I think I gave it to like a lot of my friends, and it was getting full, and then I realized, oh, I haven't given it to him.
So did you?
So I plucked up the courage
Yeah.
to give it to him, and I'm like, oh yeah, can you like
Sign or
yeah,
whatever.
or like fill it up?
Uh-huh.
And he agreed.
Aw.
Yeah, so he took it back, and I'm like, yay. So I expected like 2 pages at least, because that's what usually people
Wow,
use in
really?
terms of
Elementary
space.
kids can write
Oh,
that
it's
much?
just like small books.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So he gave it back to me. It was so generic. It
Aw.
was just like name, photo, address, hobbies, and he didn't give me the sentences. I was
Oh no, then how will I know what I represent? Like,
yeah,
V. Very, very
extraordinary.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was just like that. That's why I
Aw.
thought you were courageous, because even for me, just giving it the book, it was like,
No, I think that's
oh,
more.
huh?
Because like you're asking him to do like work. You're asking him to like write about his life, like give your like a picture, like
But
write
everybody,
his address, do all of that stuff.
true.
I just gave the guy snacks.
That's true.
Like, he just has to receive it. Like,
But you know what? I think the fact that you kept giving it to him, it's like intentional. But for me, like giving the diary is something you did
one time kind of thing.
Yeah, like everybody did that, so it wasn't something special.
Ah, okay. I see
But
what
you giving the
mean.
food, you stood out, right? Like nobody gave him food like every day.
Yeah, but then later on, it would just became like, okay, here you can have this. Like we didn't really talk much. I just gave him food. I became
he's a
like the
snack provider.
cafeteria lady. Yeah, I became the snack provider, and I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but you know that boy, I think didn't stay at our school like long enough. I
Aw.
think he moved abroad or like to a different school like a few years after. So
Okay.
yeah,
But you didn't have a crush on him the whole time.
no, maybe like a couple years. I don't remember. I mean, it was little puppy love, so it was nothing.
No, yeah. I think I like that guy, like the snacks person, just like faded from my life after grade 1. Because he was in a different class afterwards.
Okay.
And then I was just like, okay, like that's the end of that.
Right.
Kind of thing. So okay. Very cool. Very cool. Wow. So many things I didn't know about you.
Same.
Okay. So then what about when we were kind of starting our lives and making some money? First ever job.
That was, I think, maybe grade 11 for me. So
Wow, okay.
yeah, so before college, it was at this like Mandarin radio station in Jakarta.
Oh yeah.
I
Is
was
that the one that you won?
like a
The
singing
prize or
contest,
something?
yes.
Yeah,
But I
wow.
also
Vidia
did
has a great voice, by the way.
no, thank you. Yeah, so it was at that local Mandarin radio station where I like read the news. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
so
yeah.
cool. What? How did they let a grade 11
Yeah, I also
person do
don't know
this?
why, but I did it. So I think it was my cousin who worked there. So
That's so
she had some
cool.
connections, and I think they were looking for like a
You were born for podcasting. Look at this. You've been preparing since grade
wow, full
11.
circle.
Wow, really? That's
Yeah,
really
actually, I
cool.
haven't thought about it for a while. I'm like, oh yeah, I used to be on radio. That's quite cool,
Wow.
but I don't have the
So, did you
recording
speak in Indonesian?
in Chinese because it was a
Oh,
Mandarin radio station. But I was
wow.
literally just reading it. It wasn't like interview or anything ad
But
lib.
what were you reading?
The news, the actual news, like whatever
What?
happened in Jakarta or
Yo,
Indonesia,
that's
like
so
the
cool.
Ministry of I don't know fishery did whatever. It was like hard news.
What?
But I
Oh
had
my
a script, so
gosh.
all I had to do was just like reading it.
Yeah, but still, like the fact that you got that job and that was your first ever job,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that was pretty cool.
so
Hey,
many people's first ever job is like, oh yeah, I was like a busboy, or I was, a newspaper delivery person, or I was, busting tables or something.
right? Yeah, but that
Yours
wasn't.
is like, actually, I was on radio broadcasting the news. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but that wasn't the culture in Indonesia. Like when you're kids, you don't really like work the like
The
that kind
labor
of jobs.
jobs?
Yeah, labor jobs because
Why?
it's not that safe. Yeah, it's not a safe
Oh, okay.
environment
Oh, okay.
to have
Makes
that
sense.
kind of part-time job. Um,
So how did you get this job then?
yeah, my memory is a little blurry, but I think it was through
It's been a
yeah, it
while.
was through the connection of my cousin who worked there, and then she
Mm,
knew that they were looking for someone, so she knew the producer of the show.
mm,
I came and then maybe read a few lines. I can't remember, but I was there
mm.
for like a good maybe like half a year.
Whoa,
It was quite a while.
that's
Yeah, it wasn't
substantial.
just like one or two times. It was like quite.
So then did you
Because
go after school to do it, or
I think
like?
it was during the weekend, or I
Oh,
don't remember. But yeah,
right.
I will be like after school for sure. I didn't skip school because of that.
Oh.
Yeah, and I remember what I bought with my like first salary because
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
like super wavy, unruly hair, and I bought my first hair straightener with the
Wow.
money that I earned. I'm like, yes, finally,
I
I
can
can
have these luscious locks.
exactly.
Wow, that's really good. I'm super impressed. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, yeah, that was actually pretty cool.
Mine was not as cool at all. Like,
It
okay.
was in university, right?
Yeah, I was
In
in uni. I was in
in the student center or
Yeah,
something.
so
Yeah.
was I in first year or I think I was in first year. Wait, hold on. Let me backtrack my life. I Oh, you know what? I think it was second year. I can't really
Oh,
remember. I think it was second
is it
year.
called SFUO?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
I was the front desk reception for the student union center in the university. And basically all I did was just like sit at the reception desk and then like
I'm sure you did more than that.
yeah, like, well, if anyone had questions about this or that, if they lost their student card or whatever, we would make a new one. And, some random people would be looking to put up posters. And because the student union has to like stamp the posters to make sure that like it's up to whatever standard.
Hmm.
And so that was it. We replied to some emails. Sometimes people asked for directions or
And you speak
like random
English
things.
and French as well, which
Yeah, I think
is
that was why I got the job. It's
yeah.
basically because they needed someone bilingual, and so that was why. And yeah, and then I worked there. The good thing about it is that it was on campus. And so I
Hmm.
didn't have to travel outside of campus
Yeah.
to work. And then because it was the student center, like they were very flexible about like if you had exams or if you had
Oh,
any like
nice.
classes
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
couldn't miss or this and that. Like they were able to work around your schedule. And so my hours were very flexible. Like I could say, oh, I would want to work like 5 hours on Tuesday and like 2 hours on Wednesday, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And so there's really no other jobs that can really allow for that, at that time, because your schedule is kind of set by the boss. But for you, like at the student center, you could kind of have that flexibility of your hours. And then I was always with another person, so it
Oh,
wasn't always
okay.
just me on my own. And so yeah, and then there were always like other people who were a bit more like experienced. So I was often paired with this one girl who was like, I think in her third or fourth year or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was working that job for like a long time, so she really knew like a lot about it. And not that there was much to know, to be honest, but it was nice to have someone who kind of knew like
Yeah.
beyond what like was kind of on the page. And so yeah, that was my first ever job.
And I think they paid well, right? The university.
No.
Huh?
No, they did not. I think I got paid basically minimum wage. Yeah. So I think it was
And
like
that was not good.
um well, yeah, I think minimum wage at the time was like
11.
yeah,
Yeah.
$12 or something, 12, 13. No, I can't even remember. It's been a while. It's also been, more than 10 years. So, yeah. But I think I'm pretty sure that it was very close to minimum wage, if not exactly minimum wage.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Do you remember how much you earned?
Oh, I don't know. In Indonesian rupiah, maybe, I don't know, 300,000, which is like $30
A
for like
month?
I can't
Day?
remember.
What?
I remember
Oh.
that amount, but I don't know if it was per session or like per month. But it was enough to buy that hair tool.
That's all you needed.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I spent like either most or like all of it on that hair tool because it wasn't cheap.
Really? Oh my
That's how much I
goodness.
cared about my hair.
You're just like, this is like my precious.
This is priority.
Yeah, I don't remember what I spent my money on. Like that first ever check. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, also they were like late on paying me for like a month.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
cuz like apparently just my payroll just never got sorted out. And then yeah, I think I just paid like my living expenses. Like I
Yeah.
just like whatever cuz I had student loans at the time, so that could like sustain me for a bit. And then I I think I just had rent. I had rent, but I split rent with my roommate.
Yeah.
So then at the time the rent for a one bed was about like $1,100, and so it was about like 500 something each, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I would live super close to campus, literally like a bus ride away, like one stop away from campus. And so it was very convenient.
Mm-hmm.
And then like for eating, we I didn't really eat out much at the time. And then I think it was my cell phone bill that was like more expensive
Mm-hmm.
because Canada and their cell phone bills,
Yeah.
that's another topic we could
But
discuss.
it's nice that you like
Um,
your part-time job could help out your living costs, right?
yeah,
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 because
I
mine
think it
didn't. It
could.
was it was so minimal.
It was
like,
just for the hair.
yeah. It was just like pocket money and I guess the
Right.
experience.
No, I think it was good. And then I do remember when I got my first ever like full-time job, like with
Mm.
co-op. Then I was nice, and like I sent that check to my parents.
Oh.
And then I wrote them a nice letter to be like, oh, thanks for
Oh, that's so
this and
sweet.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then yeah, my mom still has not cashed in that check. She's like, I'm gonna keep it for
Oh,
like
okay.
memory and whatever. But I'm like,
That's cute.
had I known you weren't gonna cash it, I could just take that back. But
Oh, that's really sweet.
yeah, all right. So
Yeah.
then moving on from our first ever jobs, I think we'll talk about a fun thing like the solo trips, that we've
Mm-hmm.
ever taken.
Yeah, because
So
we've done some
after work,
traveling.
there's some play.
Yeah.
So what about you? Like the first trip you've taken by yourself?
By myself, it would be to LA.
Oh wait, but then I guess the Taiwan trip, like the
Yeah,
school, doesn't count,
but
right?
that wasn't a vacation, and I went with my friend, with my
Oh,
high school
right.
friend.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So like first real full like solo trip, it would be to LA.
Mhm.
Um,
That was recent.
yeah, that was in 2019. I graduated from grad school and I thought I would give myself a graduation gift.
Okay. Yeah,
And
well deserved.
I was going back from Ottawa where I studied back to Indonesia. And I thought, en route, I'll just stop by LA.
And you watch Conan.
Yes, that's where I saw James Corden up close and Conan
Yeah.
O'Brien, which
So
is,
I'm a
yeah.
very big Conan fan, and so that's another podcast that I really like. So anyway, but side topic. So yeah,
Yeah.
so your LA trip.
Yeah, I spent, I think, like 6 days, 5, 6 days there on my own, although I did meet up with like some acquaintances. But other than that, I was just like on my own.
Mm,
Um, it was good. I mean, LA was is very, very big. And
mm,
I didn't drive, so I just took public transit. But I remember from my first solo trip, I thought I would enjoy it more. I mean, I
mm.
didn't not
Not
enjoy
enjoy it,
myself, but I
right?
thought it would be like transformative experience. I would like
Mm,
connect to myself and like
mm,
whatever.
mm, mm.
But no, it wasn't. I was just
I'm just traveling
yeah,
by
I'm
myself.
just traveling by myself and I feel
Mm,
like I wish there were people to share the experiences with. And
mm.
again, back to food. Like when I went to the restaurant again and like
Because you
American
can't order that much, right?
exactly American food portions are huge and I'm like I can't like order two different foods. I can't even like finish one dish by myself and I'm like if only there were someone else like traveling with me we could like share.
That is actually hilarious.
Right? And then this is also kind of vain. Like nobody is there to like take pictures
Take
of me.
pictures.
Like everything is like this poor selfie. Um
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, that was my first solo trip experience. It was kind of like eye opening. I was like, oh yeah, I did not enjoy myself, but I think I would prefer to go with someone else
Mm,
now if I were to go, traveling. But
mm, mm, mm.
it wouldn't stop me from like traveling.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Like if
That
I
makes
have to, yeah,
sense.
if I wanted to like visit a place on my own and nobody could like
Yeah.
come with me.
Well, do you think it also mattered where you went, like LA versus if you went to a different city or a different place? Do you think you would have had a better experience, like with the food, for example? Like, let's say you went to Japan
Oh
and the portions are smaller, and you can order more
no,
things
I
or
think yeah,
whatever.
no, I think the
It'd still be the
places,
same.
yeah,
Hmm.
because I also like sharing that experience and like just talk
Right.
about it
Right.
after.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not the same as if you were to like recount it after to somebody.
yeah,
It's like they had to be there to
exactly,
experience it
yeah. But
together.
I still proceeded to go on solo trips after because nobody
Mm.
was around to like travel with me. But yeah, I,
All by
hashtag forever alone.
no such hashtag. We're together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would still prefer to go traveling with at least like one more person if I
Mm,
could.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
How
sense.
about your first solo trip?
Yeah, so I was having a hard time like remembering this because
Because there were so
my
many trips.
no, because my memory is also like sometimes like if it's more recent, I don't remember it, and then like things in the past, I remember it more clearly. This is a sign of aging, guys. It's like it's a very sad truth. So I think it was 2019 as well.
Oh,
Yeah, so I was
all
in
right.
Europe and then I went to so it's two trips I did, but I don't remember which one came first. So it was either the trip that I did Prague, Budapest and Vienna in one go, or it was the trip that I did Germany.
But you were already in Europe that time.
I was. Yes. So I think it was probably the Prague, Budapest, Vienna one.
Mm.
And that one, I really enjoyed it. So I really, out of all the places I've ever visited in Europe, uh, Prague is really one of my favorite places. I thought
Hmm.
I was really. Oh, you know what? Sorry, I just completely lied. I remember I went on a trip to Milan and Venice.
And that was
So that was probably
before?
my first one.
Okay.
Yeah. That was probably my first one. Sorry. Scratch whatever I just said, guys. But yeah, I think that one was before. So I did a weekend trip because I was in The Hague at the time, and doing weekend trips was like pretty easy
Mm-hmm.
because this was pre-COVID and flights were super cheap if you were willing to fly with Ryanair or EasyJet or
Which is
something.
not
Like,
bad considering if it's just like a day trip, right?
yeah,
Like you
I mean,
don't.
and it gets you to from A to B.
Yeah,
It's just
it's a
that,
short trip,
yeah,
anyways.
yeah. If it's a short trip, you'll survive. So I went to Milan, and I think I just spent like a day in Milan, and didn't really like it as much because like I felt there was a lot of people trying to like sell you things, and I just didn't like that kind of vibe.
Okay.
But I booked a train ticket that day for the following day to Venice, and I really enjoyed Venice. Like, I thought I would perhaps not enjoy it as much because it's been often depicted as like oversaturated with tourists and like
Mm-hmm.
kind of smelly and overpriced and this and that. And so I was kind of, anticipating that perhaps that would kind of color my impression. But I really wanted to go to Venice because when I was a kid, I remember reading this book called The Thief Lord, by Cornelia Funk, I think that was her name. And it was like it told the story of these two brothers who were kind of these like rugrats, and they were like they get together with a bunch of other like rugrat like street kids, and they discover this like mystery, and things happen, and it's set in Venice. And like
Mm,
the author has done a really good job of like depicting Venice in like a very like all the kind of the lure and like the history of it, and like she kind of wove some of that into the story itself. And so the story was a really good book. I really enjoyed it, and so I had this kind of image in my mind of what the book was. And so I was like,
mm-hmm.
oh, I want to visit all the places that were mentioned in the book, and I got to see them in real life, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. And so I get there, and I think it was like maybe early morning that I arrived. I arrived there, I think it was maybe around like 9 something, and I had a return ticket back, I think around 6 at
Mm-hmm.
night. And so it was like basically a whole day. And I get there, and I'm like, it was a really beautiful sunny day. And the first, like, once you get out of the train station, there's like a bridge. I mean, there are many bridges, but and then you cross the bridge. And I was like sitting there, like eating a gelato, like having a really good time,
Yeah, yeah,
enjoying the
yeah.
vibes. And then I get on the bridge, and then I wanted to like take a picture, right? And then of course, yes, being alone, you have no one to take photos with. So I see this couple, and I think this is a really good tip. Like, if you want someone to take a picture of you, you just offer first to take a picture for them, and then they very likely will return the favor. And so I see this like really like young looking couple, and then they're like standing there trying to do a selfie, but like it's clear that they want someone to like take a wide shot.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Oh, would you like a picture?" And they're like, "Oh, yes, thank you." And so I took one for them, and then they're like, then they offered, so I didn't even
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to ask. They're like, "Yeah, would you like one as well?" I'm like, "Yes, please." And then so they took one of me, and I wanted to get to the Bridge of Sighs, which is like kind of it's like a very famous like bridge in Venice, where like before in the olden times, like the other side of the bridge was a prison. And so it's what the prisoners would see like as the kind of their last view of the free world before they were going into the
Wow.
prison. And so it's called Bridge of Sighs because there's like a lot of regret and sighing and whatever. And so I wanted to go there, but then because my phone was like not I don't think I had data or something. And so I like couldn't find it. And then I started talking to them, and they were this like young couple from the US. And then they're like, "Oh, yeah, we're trying to go there too. So do you want to tag along?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." And then we ended
Oh,
up spending
wow.
the whole day together. And it was really nice. And then they were this really
Wow,
lovely
you were
couple.
brave.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a vibe because I felt like they seemed really like,
Friendly
yeah,
and
they seemed very like,
not sus.
yeah, they seemed very American. But in the best
Yeah,
way,
yeah,
in the best
yeah.
way. They were very open and enthusiastic and very forthcoming and kind. And so I was like, oh yeah, these seem like
Oh,
stand-up
wow.
people. And so we ended up having like lunch somewhere, and then we had like really good pizza, and then we were kind of wandering around the streets of Venice together, and then we went to the Saint Marco like square, I think. And then inside is like a really big church. We went in there. That was really pretty. And then we wandered around, and then finally we get to like the Bridge of Sighs. And then it was just a really nice time, and I found out that they were this young couple that were celebrating their wedding anniversary,
Mm-hmm.
and they had just come from Paris, and they were like doing a big Europe trip, and the husband was a doctor, I think, or no, the husband was something, I forget his profession, and then the girl was a teacher. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and we just had really lovely conversation and really good time. And then my the this is like something out of a movie. Like before we parted ways, because they booked a hotel in Venice, and I had to leave to go back on the train. And I was like, my phone was running out of battery, and I was like, it was dying. And I was like, oh, let's take a photo before
Yeah,
we
yeah.
leave, because we just all had a really good day. And she's like, yeah, sure. And then just as I pull out my phone,
It
it
died.
dies. It just like it's like cinematic or something. And I didn't have like a portable charger. I just had a plug, but there's no outlets like
Yeah.
on in the like on the road or whatever. And so we're like, oh no. And then she's like, okay, you can take down my Snapchat info or something, or like whatever. And somehow we just kind of disconnected. Like we couldn't find a way to like get our
But she didn't
contact.
offer to take a picture. She must have
Yeah,
had a
she must have
phone.
had a phone. I think she probably took a photo, but then I'm not sure what happened. Something got lost in translation there, and it's a bit blurry now. But then because
Mm,
I was gonna miss my train, and I had to like get on the
yeah.
train. And then as soon as I get on the train, I rush onto the train, and then as the train is like pulling away from the station, it starts raining. So I'm like, oh my goodness! Like had I like
Another
the whole,
cinematic.
yeah, the whole day, it was beautiful weather, like hot, but like not too hot. And it was like sunny with some clouds. It was just perfect. And then I plugged in my phone because there was an outlet on the train. And then unfortunately the plug did not work. And then when I got back to Milan, that's another story about like how I ended up with a big scar on my foot, but on my leg. But anyway, that trip to Venice was like, I think, a very very nice trip.
Oh
And
wow,
like,
okay. Yeah.
yeah. And in Milan too, like I think I was in a hostel, and then I ended up having dinner like that first night with this random girl that was also in the hostel, who seemed equally lost as me.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And it was just like a really nice time. And I mean, not to say that like you shouldn't like, buyer beware, like also be careful
Be
and be
cautious.
safe
Yeah.
and everything on the road, and especially if you're traveling alone, especially if you're a girl, especially if you're in a place that you don't know as well.
Yeah.
um and I don't do this every time, like that's just very clear. Like the other trips that I went by myself, I don't like, like seek out people to have a conversations with or
But
whatever.
that's a really nice solo trip
But that
story.
was a really really
Yeah.
lovely time, and I think I really enjoyed that experience in Venice. And had I not ended up taking that picture with the couple, like perhaps my trip would have been a lot less eventful, would have
Yeah,
been a lot
yeah.
less memorable, and a lot less like it just I think it's also like, you're right, it's the people that make the experience.
Right?
But if you're able to meet some cool people, like
Yeah.
that's also a really cool
Yeah, I
experience.
have some friends who are very outgoing, and when they go
Mm,
on solo trips, they make like a bunch of friends. So they
mm,
end up like with more friends before,
mm,
like after the trip. And I'm like,
mm.
I'm not super outgoing like that. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
I wish I
definitely
was.
this was an exception. Like the Milan and the Venice thing, that those
Yeah,
are exceptions, because the other times that I was solo, I pretty much just kept to myself. Also because
yeah,
I was like, if you don't find like people that you feel very like, oh, this one is like, this person is safe or whatever,
yeah,
then I wouldn't
yeah,
do that. But I think it was the right vibe. All I can say.
yeah, definitely.
But it was a good
Oh,
time.
that was. I learned a lot about you.
Yeah, well, as did I you. So
Yeah,
that's good. Okay, great.
so many firsts,
So
and
I think that about concludes our time.
our first episode.
Yeah, our first ever
Woohoo!
episode. But I think it was good to kind of go back through memory lane, down memory lane, and just see and hear our experiences. Hopefully that entertained you guys,
Mm-hmm.
or triggered some of your thoughts about travel or
Maybe you learn some things
yeah,
like
your
China
first.
Airlines has good food, Ryanair for budget travel in
Yeah,
Europe.
exactly. But yeah, let us know what you think, and then
Yeah.
we will.
And this is kind of a glimpse into our usual
Yeah,
chats
this is
offline.
basically how it's like. So yeah, talk to us if you can on some socials if you like to hear more, and
Yeah,
then we're
certain
happy
topics.
to accommodate. All right, thanks so
Thank you for
much.
listening.
See you
See
next
you next time.
time.
Bye.
Bye.